Let's go ahead and bring out our guest at this time. First, you know him from Black Clover, Dr. Stone, My Hero Academia, and a little show called Full Metal Alchemist. Please help me welcome at this time, Aaron Dismuke. I was like, where's he at? And our next guest, you know her voice. Things have already gone awry.
Should I sit there?
No, right there is fine. Center of attention. You know her voice from Borderlands 2, Soul Eater, Attack on Titan, and another show called One Piece. Anybody familiar? Please help me welcome Stephanie Young.
Oh, ow.
Careful.
Hello.
Good morning.
I knocked shit over and then promptly hit my tooth with the mic.
Looks
So this is a guide on how to voice act?
Yes, this is.
Don't bite the microphone.
Don't bite them. Don't eat the mic.
You want to keep about this much distance. So that's rule number one.
Don't throw water bottles.
Don't do what I just did. Yeah, and don't throw things. That'll tank your reputation real quick.
Well, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are these fine folks of Columbus treating you this weekend?
Oh, they've been lovely.
Oh yeah, you guys are fantastic.
Is this your first time here in Columbus?
It's not my first time in Columbus, but it's my first time at GalaxyCon, so I'm super excited to be here with you guys.
Absolutely. Welcome, welcome.
This is my third time in Columbus this year. I was here last weekend for Thanksgiving, visiting family. Yeah, and then, and so I watched an unfortunate sports ball game that people were very upset about.
It's fine.
Man.
It's fine.
My
go
partner's
Utah, right?
aunts and uncle were screaming at the television. It was I don't really understand what was going on, but it was pretty fun to watch. They were very enthusiastic.
It all got fixed last night. Don't worry about it.
Oh,
It
good.
all got fixed last night, right? So did you spend Thanksgiving here and then fly home and then fly back?
Correct. Yes, that's exactly what I did. I've been to OhioCon the last 2 years in a row. Sorry, I probably shouldn't talk about the competition. should I? It's fine. GalaxyCon's doing well.
All family. All family.
Yeah, we're all anime lovers.
Right. Any anime lovers out there? Oh, whew. All right, we're in the right room. So yes, this is Voice Acting 101. Again, we have the live microphone there, so we'll line up in a bit for those of you who do have questions. But I want to, let's go back to the beginning. Aaron, you're still super young, and you are a veteran in this industry.
20 years.
20
I've been in the
years.
industry. I can say that. I can say I've been doing it for decades, and I do all the time when I want to correct someone. I'll be like, as someone with decades of experience in the industry, I have a unique perspective on this. But like, realistically, from age 9 to 18, I was coming in like once every 3 months, you know?
Oh.
Like, it's not like I was doing that as my main gig. Like, when I was in middle school and high school, like, I was also working at I worked at a grocery store, I worked at a movie theater, I mowed lawns, yeah.
So how does one get started at 9 years old?
That's called nepotism. Yeah, that's how you start at 9. You gotta be related to someone.
I'll work on that.
The way most, get started. The way most of my co-stars did it is they went to school for acting, they did theater, and then they auditioned like good people. I existed and was biologically male and 9, so all my competition was adult women trying to sound like they were 9-year-old boys, and what do you know, I was better at that than them.
Shocker.
No doubt.
Stephanie, how did you get started?
I'm just still really taken with the fact you were 9. I didn't realize you were 9.
Yeah, I was a good reader. I'll give
You must
myself
have
that.
been. I have a almost 9-year-old. I'm like, I can't imagine.
Well, we had 3 channels on TV, and one was in Spanish, and I didn't want to learn Spanish, so I read books.
And there's a tip. I'm taking that one too. That's good. I am one of those people. It's so nice you called us the good people, Aaron. I appreciate that. But I studied theater in college and was a professional actor doing commercial voiceover work. which, you know, we all do that too. But I'll never forget when my agent said, hey, do you want to audition for this company called Funimation? They do anime. I said, what's anime? Guys, this was a long time ago. Give me a break now. And I said, what's that? And then she told me, and then I went in and auditioned and said, I want to do this. I want to be with these people. This is awesome. Because as a theater kid, you know, I was telling someone at my table this the other day, you get to do these, you know, like, I love Greek theater. I love it. Most theater houses don't produce Greek theater because, let's face it, it doesn't sell as well as certain other shows. And I felt like stepping into anime, we just got to have these magical worlds. And you guys know the big highs, the big lows. It's so Greek in so many of these things. And it was just so nice to be able to get to know this community. I was instantly hooked, and I'm so thankful to be here. And to be here with you guys, this is such a wonderful part of doing this. You know, our work is pretty solitary, so when we get out and meet you, and we get to do this, it's really, really great. But that's, yeah, I auditioned and then started working.
I've you know, talked to a lot of voice actors who did get their start in theater. Are there any theater kids out there?
Woohoo!
So,
There's a few. That's all right. That's good.
so do you feel that as, you know, it's necessary to at least have a background in either you know, theater or improv or some sort of acting already before they dive into a role of voice? Any aspiring voice actors out there?
Yay, voice acting 101. You know, so many people come from different places to this. I think it can only help you to study acting. It does not have to be in theater. You know, I'm glad you mentioned improv, you know, and of course, you know, Aaron, I feel like this has sort of been your school of training.
Yeah, well,
jumping into
I
the
ended
voice
up
acting.
realizing that I needed to get good, and I did theater. So I've done a good amount of
did.
theater now. Yeah.
See, we're getting to know each other here too. I'm excited
Yeah.
about this. Okay.
Yeah, I think that the reason that theater is like the best way to learn is because there is no other way to ensure that you will throw hours at the task of becoming a better actor. Because, like, for example, okay, Tamaki Amajiki in My Hero Academia is a prominent character. He's a huge part of my life at conventions these days because a lot of people connect with that character. I've spent less than 20 hours total voicing that character over the years. I did a play once for a community theater a few years back called The Pillow Man. And the audience, maybe 300 people saw it in total over its full run. But I spent probably 500 hours rehearsing, memorizing lines, actually doing the performance. And so which of those roles do you think have made me a better actor?
Such a good point.
Yeah, and there's really nothing, even if you like enroll in classes, you're talking about 3 hours a week that you're working at it, versus when you're rehearsing for a play, we're talking 5 hours a day, often.
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
It
is
is
so
fun.
much fun. The experience of that's such a good point.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have a degree in theater and did professional theater for years. And I'm really thankful for that experience. But the community of actors and how you learn how to take direction, take notes, because we have to do that very quickly in the booth. And when you're working in a stage production, you have a bit more time than, of course, in classes. But also becoming a really good cold reader, because for us, if voice acting is the thing, when you work on that foundation of your acting in general, just being a good actor, then you work on your cold reads, because that's what we do after you book the job. You can work on your audition, but then you book the work, and then you need to do that. And that's such a good point, that we have these characters with these big moments, but we don't have 500 hours spent. You know, now One Piece is a different story. But that's a good point. Good point.
Do you, real quick, do you have a favorite production that you have partaken in over?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple. Now mine, I'm a singer too, so there are a couple of musicals that stood out to me. One was called The Life by Cy Coleman. Not as well known as, you know, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's great. But it was a story just about Times Square in the 80s before it was all cleaned up, but you know, how this group of people had to survive and get through. And it was very challenging, but a great show. And then, oh gosh, that was a little bit ago. You know, Shakespeare's always a good choice. I was in 12th Night, and I was Viola, and that was a real highlight. So the girl that gets to play, the trope of I'm going to disguise myself as a boy in order to survive. And that was a really good challenge. But thanks for asking that. No one's ever asked me that before.
Oh, yeah, it's probably that one I just mentioned, the Pillow Man. I voiced a guy named Katurian in that. The playwright, his name is Martin McDonough, I think is his name. He did In Bruges, Seven Psychopaths. He's done a lot of really good stuff, and he's just the king of super dark comedy. Yeah, my character writes and recites to the audience sort of fairy tales, like modern fairy tales, that pretty much all end in child death. And his little brother is mentally not all there, and he ends up acting out the stories. And so I've been arrested because people think that I'm the murderer. That's all I'll say. But it's very good. If you ever get a chance to see that, I recommend it.
Fantastic. Now, I have to ask, starting at 9, elementary school, then going into middle school and high school, did other students, your friends, know about your career in the industry, and did that change popularity level per se?
I didn't bring it up. Every now and then someone would work it out on their own. I have a core memory where I was doing homework in the morning before school, and there was a girl sitting next to me who was making a collage of Fullmetal Alchemist characters, and I was like, that looks cool. And she's like, yeah. And she's still clickety-clacking, and I was like, who's your favorite character? And she's like, Ed. And then she kept going, and I was like, all right, I'll let this go.
Humility goes a long way, Aaron. Don't you just love that?
So, I don't know if you're aware, but about 2 years ago, the world kind of shut down. But at the same time, the entertainment business, and especially, the anime voice acting business did not shut down. And a lot of actors had to create sound, studios in their closets, in their bedrooms, in their spare bedrooms. Was this something that you had to do as well? Did you already have a home studio, or did you have to have a crash course and start recording in your closet next to all your jackets?
I think I'm sure everyone in this room has a story of how you pulled it together and survived. So big round of applause. We are still here. Everyone, that includes you. Oh man, didn't that just feel like we were in an M. Night Shyamalan film? But I had a setup for commercial work, so I had a studio going in my home. But just the fact that at the time Funimation, now Crunchyroll, pulled together this pipeline for like 300 actors so quickly to keep production going is just phenomenal. And now in the beginning, even though I had my whole setup, we had a hard time getting my setup to work with their setup before they were using Source Connect the way they do now. And I used this kit that they had that they sent to a lot of people. Yeah. Yes.
It was really nice of them to make that.
It was. It's a lesson in patience.
Yeah.
And I think that we all appreciate our engineers even more than we already did,
yes,
because we were engineering our own sessions. The directors were just listening, but we were engineering. So you've probably heard this at other cons. It is just using different sides of your brain to act, be in the moment. Now make sure those flaps are fitting and you're doing this right. And the sessions were probably double in length. I know we were recording one piece at that time, and luckily it wasn't one of those arcs where Robin had massive chunks of exposition like she tends to do, which I love because she's a storyteller. She's an archaeologist, of course she's going to tell stories. I love that about her. But I didn't have really tough editing jobs in my booth during that season. But I just remember being so incredibly thankful that they worked it out. Such smart, capable, caring people, and everybody was just in it together. And even though we didn't see each other, I felt like it brought us closer in a totally different kind of way, which was one of those silver lining things during that time.
Yeah, I also want to throw in, right at the beginning of the pandemic, Funimation sent checks to everyone that was just like, hey, we got together some money. This is just, a little thing to try to help tide y'all over because we know that it's rough, that there's no more work at the moment. Yeah, and I'll always appreciate that they did that. It was a nice gesture.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Now, I have to ask as a follow-up question. So, recorded at home, does that mean you recorded in your PJs?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I'll add something. This
You
isn't
have my
about,
attention.
This isn't
It
about
was
me not
glorious.
wearing pants while I record. That goes without saying. Is there another way?
I know. I think if you want to become a better voice actor, record in your pajamas.
The shoes, at least, I recommend losing. If you can subtly lose the shoes and you're not gonna like fill the booth with stank, then I don't know, it makes me feel more grounded, bouncier. It's nice. Yeah. But what I wanted to say is that there was one silver lining to all of the awfulness of the pandemic, which was that it did open up LA and New York to us more, and vice versa. Yeah, I got to work with studios that I never would have gotten to work with if not for the pandemic. And also, if not for remote recording becoming so prominent and it being proven that remote recording can be just as good as in-person recording. Yeah, that helps me make some connections that basically mean I can stay in Dallas and still have aspirations to do bigger work elsewhere. Yeah.
The other hiccup, though, on that one is, when the Shih Tzu comes and starts scratching on the door to get in the music studio. Sorry about that. Or small children that got used to, Mommy's recording. I know you're 5, but okay, you get to watch another show. That's fine, but when I'm done, it's off.
I was recording with this studio that I was really excited to work with for the first time, and then my roommate started doing dishes, and I was like, excuse me, I'll be right. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I'll be right back.
At least they know.
Yeah.
Or it's inevitable that the lawn crew kicks in and there's only so much, or a leaf blower. Okay, I kid you not, this happened. So now this is post-pandemic, but still I record from home a lot, and they started to redo the road in front of our house. Y'all, and I just knew, from Texas, y'all. So I just thought, oh, please, how is this gonna work? Now, I do highly recommend, there's a specific mic called the Townsend Sphere. I love my Townsend Sphere, not just because it's cool and it has lots of different filters you can put on it. So I found this through Okatron with Stephen Hoff. You can put filters on it to make it sound like a gazillion different mics. Ooh. It is so cool. But it also has, since, Voice Acting 101, you do need a studio. You need some kind of setup in your own home. It doesn't have to be super pricey. I invest in this because I've been doing this. This is my career. But it really captures the sound right in front of it, not behind it. So before I got that, a lawn crew would show up or someone would start, I say lawn crew. The crews, because there's, 4 people all going at the same time. One lawnmower, okay. But everybody on task was really loud. But with that mic, it wouldn't pick it up as much. But I did find with the crew, they were the nicest people, and I would bring them popsicles. It was hot in Texas, and I was like, hi. The main foreman, or the one that was in charge, the guy that was in charge, would say, listen, can you all just stop for, and this is for commercial, not anime, can you just stop for like 20 minutes? Can I give your guys popsicles? It's all I have because I have children. And it worked.
That's awesome.
It worked. We can all work together if you just ask nicely and say please and thank you.
Have popsicles.
That's an anime moment right there. I'm picturing all these burly guys just...
I know. I should have gotten a picture. And I would have been a bigger hit if it had been those special popsicles, but this was just, normal, not, I know, right? But this, it was in the morning. No.
All right, so again, as I said, we do have a mic, so if you want to go ahead and start lining up with your, come on, start lining up so we can get to your questions. Hello.
Hello. I was just wondering, do you guys do you like create your own voices or use your regular voices?
Okay. Do we create our voices or use our regular voice?
Yeah.
I will say probably my most popular characters are closer to my normal voice. Although I don't know, my regular voice is a little higher and kind of perky. And it just is. And then my females usually are very strong and very serious. You know, Robin, Olivier, Arachne, all that jazz. So it's close to mine. I don't do a lot of crazy character voices. That's not so much my niche.
Yeah, I'm similar. I have a couple of dials. I have a couple of spectrums that I can go between. So I've got my breathy boys, and then I've got my scratchy boys. And so every character is somewhere on the range between breathy and scratchy, which, you know, it's the two leads in Black Clover, right? It's Asta and Yuno. Every teenage anime character is either Asta or Yuno. And then you decide their emotional range, or I call it emotional posture, which is just what's the primary emotion that they filter every other emotion through. So Tamaki, he has an anxiety filter. Everything he says, even if he's happy, it's gonna go through this anxiety filter. Versus clotted cream cookie, everything will go through a pompous filter. You know, and I guess that's also like education level, but that's about as much range as I have. Everyone that I voice will sound like they're between 15 and 25. I can't help that.
Isn't it funny when people come up to you that don't really know the industry and they're like, oh, let me hear your voices?
Yeah, like, you're gonna be disappointed.
There's a lot of realism going on. A lot of realism.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cute, good question.
So how was your schedule while you were working for Funimation?
Wait, I missed the first part of that.
How was your schedule?
Yeah, like, what was your schedule looking like? Were you super busy or like kind of carefree?
It's rare for me to have more than 10 hours of work in a week as a voice actor, putting all the studios together personally. When I fill my schedule, it's because I'm directing or doing script adaptation or something like that. How about you?
Cool. Yeah, it varies. You know, I mean, I know One Piece is pretty constant, even though, you know, Robin doesn't always speak as much. She's battling, which is, when she's battling, it's actually not a problem that she's not always screaming her head off. I will yell and scream, but I'm a singer, so it's really nice that some of my most popular characters are totally in control. Other than I Want to Live, but that deserved it. It warranted it. But as far as the schedule, yeah, mine's pretty similar, but it's not. Some weeks I'm not recording at all. Some I'm busy. I have commercial work that I do consistently from home. That's very regular. But I think, you know, in this industry, you have seasons of busy, and then seasons maybe where you're not as busy. And I just encourage you, when you get in the not as busy season, to not freak out. Don't freak out. I remember after I booked my first big lead was Junko and Desert Punk. I know you were like, what? Right? It's like every third. Okay, I know. So you know why I'm going.
Yeah.
It was fun, but it's like 13-year-old boy wrote it. You know. And,
Sympathies.
you know, it has its place, but it was a little slow after that. I didn't know Robin was right around the corner. I didn't know. All these other parts were right around the corner, but I was new, and talk about the anxiety filter. I was like, oh no, I love doing this, and I haven't booked another lead next week. So it's just, I think you have to have a degree of trust that the work, you know, you do your work. Sorry, this is a very long answer to what's your schedule.
It's fine.
But if you do your, it's fine. I have a mother, she does this too. But the work will come to you, I believe, as it is meant to. You just do your part and do your work, and then the work will come.
Got it. Thank you.
How much time do you spend on auditions?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
That varies too. I don't know. I will crank those out pretty quick.
Yeah, I think we all reached that point where we're like, I'm done spending 2 hours on a 3-line audition and overthinking it and falling in love and then getting disappointed. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's better to just read your first thing.
Yeah. Maybe listen. I'll listen. Because there was a season where I didn't. I was like, and wasn't picking as much. Then I'd go and, I'm not talking hours. A few passes and listen. And
Yeah.
sometimes you think you know what you sound like, and you do not. even when you've been doing this for a long time, and you think something is communicated depending on the time of day you happen to audition. Like if I audition at 11 o'clock at night, even though I love to sing at 11 o'clock, voice acting at 11 o'clock, not so much. And I'll think I sound really energetic, and I'll go and listen and go, okay, no, I've got to build that up a little bit more.
That's smart. Yeah, maybe I should start doing the audition and then submit it the next day.
Something tells me you're doing just fine. What you're doing is working.
Thank you. We can always improve.
And that's a good
I'm gonna give it a
attitude.
whirl.
This is true.
Hello, hi. My name is Myra. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.
And thank you for your time. Also, I love the dynamic. This is like, it feels like friends are talking. It makes me so happy. It's great. So what would you say is like the most challenging part of your job?
The most challenging part.
Everything?
Oh, there's plenty. I mean,
Battle cries are hard. There are times where a character legitimately challenges your lung capacity, and you're just like, how? And it sucks because if you're doing it for like an original thing, like a video game, then you can say, this is how long that character is able to scream.
you get to choose.
Yeah. I've decided that about him just now. Sorry, director. But if you're doing anime, you have visible proof that the character can and should scream for twice that long. You're like, okay.
Oh my goodness. And that's when you bring your engineer cookies. Say, help.
Hey, listen, what if we did a little fade there and we came in halfway through? and it can sound really good.
Yeah.
Raleigh Pickens.
That magician.
Yeah, because he did Dragon Ball. That's the secret. That's the secret to those super long Kamehamehas. They can punch in at the middle and just finish it and then blend it together. I probably shouldn't have told you all that.
Well, it's the same way with singing some of the anime songs.
Yeah?
I'm like, okay, they're not breathing. They're not breathing, these girls. I was in Show by Rock, I sang, and then I sang in Zombieland Saga. Oh, I love Zombieland Saga so much. You know, zombie girl band. How do you not love that? But some of that singing, it's like, nobody's breathing. They just keep singing and really complicated harmonies, which is so fun to work on. It's so beautiful. But back to the yelling thing, when we've done, I feel like whenever I do a game with Gearbox, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna lose my voice. So I make sure, what was the last one we did? Tiny Tina's Wonderland. I was a snake goddess person. Okay, she was a snake goddess, I don't remember her name. But she yelled, she died a long time. And then Nisha in Borderlands, she didn't yell a ton, but it was there. And that's sort of like this joke. It's like, oh, you're working for Gearbox, get ready. So I have to make sure I don't book anything where I have to sing, because I learned it the hard way on, and in Dragon Ball I don't have to yell a lot. They're really kind to me. They know, like, oh, you sing, you don't need to do that. But I'll never forget, I was really pushing it, and I can't remember the show, but there had been a lot of yelling and a lot of screaming, and then we were on a morning show with my band the next morning, which we didn't do that every day. That was exciting, and my voice cracked. Yeah, it was awesome. And I saw it.
Sounds it, yeah.
And Raleigh was not there to fix it. So it wasn't horrible, but of course, you know when you do something like that and you want it to be perfect, whatever that is. And you just roll with it. I remember thinking, ugh, and then you move on and other things will happen. So, and that's another thing, is that there are times that are hard, but dust yourself off, get back up, and keep going. You do this because you love it. And it's awesome, and you love it. But when you hit the speed bumps, you will. When you hit the slow times, I don't care who you are, it happens. Dust yourself off and keep going, and then, yeah, just keep it positive.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that gets to it's probably worth telling them, like, what percentage of auditions do you think you book? Speaking of the hard times.
Oh, yeah, I have no idea, but it's not high.
Yeah, I think it's like 1 in 30 or more for me.
Yeah, that
And
sounds right for probably a lot of people.
And that's an average, and so there are times where it's 1 in 50, where your batting average is much worse. And so I think motivating yourself to keep auditioning, even when you're, swinging and missing a lot, I think that's another one of the hard things of the job.
Yeah. Welcome to the world of acting.
Hi.
Right?
Hello.
Hi.
What is one of your most memorable moments during your career?
I remember auditioning for Robin in One Piece so vividly because the studio was abuzz over this show. We were so excited, and they had the wanted posters on a table for us. Do you know One Piece?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
My brother watches it all the time.
Oh, cool.
I know it.
So the wanted posters were on a table, and I was like, Nami, she's cool. But then I saw Robin and went, that one's me. That is who I would book. Oh, because normally I can kind of go in and go out and be like, what is supposed to be will be. But this is one of the times I went, oh, I really want that. I want that. And so auditioned, felt good about it, but then got a callback. We don't normally have callbacks for shows. They just book. And because the Japanese had given some direction on what they wanted. And it's funny, their direction was they wanted her a little sexier, and to them that meant higher pitched, right? It's funny, because my brain went the other way. I was like, okay, great, we can do that. And so we did, and I remember after the callback, I was going to the opera that night to see Faust. Love it, but I don't normally go to the opera that often. But it was just epic, so I had the audition, and then got to be in this opera where everything is huge, and just had this feeling, and then it worked out. And y'all, when we had the premiere for One Piece Film Red in LA, that was in October, that was incredible. Just to be there at the Chinese theater, and then be in a theater full of anime people that loved One Piece, and they got every little joke and character, and the laughs and the cheers, and y'all, anime for One Piece, we're real excited. We won the box office on Friday night against mainstream, right? We all win. We all win when that happens. It was really exciting, so yeah.
I fell over in the booth once and had to get help to get picked up. I had to lean back, and I didn't have to. I did that because I was ADD. I was 12. This is when I was doing FMA. And I would lean back between every take, and you hear 3 beeps before you record. And so at about the second beep, I would lean forward again, and then I'd say the line, and then I'd repeat this little mini game I was playing. And then one time, instead of moving forward, the stool just slipped out from under me. And it's a very small booth that I was in. It's a whisper room, and this one was like a broom closet, basically. Because this was back at the old building. Yeah. And so it slipped out, but it didn't slip all the way. It got wedged against the far wall. And then I was pinned between the wall and the stool like this. And yeah, and it's recording. So beep, 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 and then and then Mike McFarlane was directing, and he sort of tries to peer over the window to see me. Aaron?
You okay?
And I was like, help. And he had to open the door and help me up.
I'm so excited that you ended up being a really good actor. You know, but some kids will come into a role, and then who knows if that career will continue. And they probably want it to. And I don't know, if my son did that, I would really hope that it would continue for him, and it continued for you. So, I mean, that's nothing to just go, yeah, everybody does that. No, they don't. Oh, the I Want to Live moment, too. You said Mike McFarlane, and at One Piece, I Want to Live was a big moment for Robin that I'll never forget. And luckily, we got it in one take. It was a big emotional moment, so.
Nice.
Thank you, Mike McFarlane.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. What are some of the struggles that you guys face when you're trying to record while sick?
Well, you sound bad. The hardest thing, in my opinion, I've since learned of the dangerous joy of Afrin, which is basically a nasal nuke that just pries your nasal passage open. But until I learned about that option, my nose was permanently stuffed. I have a deviated septum, and I also have bad allergies, and so anytime that I have to do a what we call a CM react, closed mouth reaction sound, so that sort of thing. For me, it was just like, and I'm like, can y'all clean that out? And they're like, can you clean that out? So there's that. That's really hard.
Yeah, oh man, you do. You just have to push through. And I mean, sometimes you just can't. But I think also when your adrenaline is going, it's amazing how even if you have not that I recommend working on a hoarse and raspy throat, but sometimes you just have to, acting, singing, whatever, when your adrenaline kicks in, it's amazing. Not that that's what you count on, because you don't know when it will happen, but how all of a sudden your voice starts to come back. Yeah, I mean, there's all the teas and the sprays. So the very first game I ever recorded was Spike Out Battle Street, and Chris Sabat was directing. And I'm so glad on my first game, and it was prelay, so, you know, it was just us. We got to choose how long we scream, like you said. But I had never, you know, recorded a game before, and there's pages and pages of all these different types of kicks and jumps, and I'm like, what? I mean, I could think of a kick or two and a jump, but it's pages of all these moves, and I'm so glad he was there. He would give me examples. I mean, the man did his own session. He gave me examples, and I'm so glad that was a fantastic master class in how to record reactions for a game. But this is what's funny. So I had this vocal spray called Satori Time. I got it at Whole Foods. You know, it's like Singer's Saving Grace. There are throat sprays you can get that help. This is no longer on the market because I think it had ephedrine in it, and I did not know. And I was spraying that stuff in my throat, just trying to do a good job in the session. And I was amping up and amping up and amping up. And Chris is like, Stephanie, what are you doing? What? And I was like, Satori Time. And he looked at And I was singing at a show that night that was opening a musical. And luckily, I mean, the energy was there. Not that I recommend that. But there are other ways. Drink your water. But, you know, that's always like, oh, it's a Satori Time moment. Yikes. But sometimes you have to push through. I had a commercial client. I had COVID, and I had a pretty bad case of it. I was not in the hospital, thank goodness. But there's also times where you know how you do in life. You don't tell everyone everything. Right. And it was a remote session for a commercial client that, as a voice actor, especially in the commercial world, you know, there are a million people that can do what you do. There are. And so if you have a replacement come in and do your grocery store voiceover, you know, I mean, I feel like I have some loyalty with this client, but you never know. So I remember just getting in the booth and just, like we do, guys, you know, you just push through and do it. And I have felt that way about actors, especially when you're doing live performance, the whole show must go on thing. Actors are athletes. They really are. And not only do you have to perform and make it happen, you have to do it sometimes with a big smile on your face. But, you know, it's okay. You're thankful for the work and you make it happen. But you do learn the tricks and the trades, but, you know, water, 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 and more water.
So we have a little bit less than 10 minutes left.
I will not speak so much.
This is going so, time is just like flying here. Hello.
Hello, how y'all doing? I had a question for Stephanie. I wanted to ask you, when you were getting ready to say that I want to live line in Annie's Lobby, like, did you have to like prepare for that or rehearse for it? Because I think that line by itself like really improved Robin's, you know, character development. So I wanted to ask your thoughts on that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I still get emotional about it. Mike, our brilliant director, Mike McFarlane, gave me we don't normally watch long scenes before we record, but sometimes a really good director will let you do that so you can get in the moment. I knew it was coming, but I didn't have the lines or anything ahead of time. And he just played the scene, and like he settled the space, played the scene. I'd done a little bit of recording leading up to that, and then it just happened. But I remember after it came out, I fell to a puddle in the floor and started crying, and then he started crying, and then we hugged each other, and we moved on. And I'm so glad he did that, and that was the one take, you know. But thank you for asking. That's probably, I talk about the audition, but really that's like one of the best moments of my whole career.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello. First of all, it's really great to meet you guys. I was just curious, what is it about voice acting in general that is just so much fun and so rewarding for you guys?
You get to do it in your PJs.
Yes.
I'll throw in for anime voice acting. There's something it does that no other form of acting will do for you, and that is it will put the music under you. As you're recording, you hear this swelling soundtrack, and it will make you feel things. Yeah. That's my favorite part.
Cool.
That's so true. Yeah. No, yeah, it's the people we get to work with, obviously. It's an awesome community.
Yeah.
And that's huge. But yeah, he's right about the music, and you don't get that, on stage or when you're doing film on camera work. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello.
Hey, I was just wondering, when you're doing a certain voice, would you two have any tips on like disguising, like hiding your real voice when you're doing a certain voice?
There are a couple vocal chameleons who can do that. I'm not one of them. If I'm in something, you'll know. I can differentiate characters, but mostly I do it like how I described before. Like I've got a toothy to breathy spectrum, and I can go a little lower, a little deeper. But other than that, my goal in terms of differentiating characters is just to replace my thoughts with different thoughts than my own. So be more nervous, be more angry, be more whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much the same. And then you can count on the writing and the script to help with that. The flow and the rhythm of how it's written will definitely dictate how you deliver. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi. So this kind of calls back to a little bit of what you've been talking about. But with someone who maybe is just starting out and getting used to doing different things with their voices, do you have any specific types of vocal exercises that you recommend, or just ways that you sort of help to make sure you're not destroying your vocal cords by doing these growly, or besides the water,
64 to 100 ounces a day.
Okay.
64 for the small people.
And a close bathroom.
I mean, there's like children in here, and you do not need to drink 100 ounces of water.
Temperature-wise as well.
Room.
Yep.
And warming up is good. We don't always have to warm up to go in, but if you know you're going to be screaming, it will protect you. And if you're feeling kind of gravelly and it's not waking up, there are vocal warm-ups, the My Fair Lady, if you've done any theater, to diddle to do, to die today, that one. And singing. Sing in the shower. Shower, that moisture helps warm up your cords. Sing in the car. I do that a lot because I'm like, ugh, I don't feel like warming up, but I'll sing in the car.
Okay.
With a song.
Awesome. Thanks.
What's your go-to singing in the shower song?
Oh.
I'm singing in the rain, I'm singing in the rain.
This is going to sound totally narcissistic, but my husband and I are songwriters, so I try to practice our new material in the shower. So ours.
That makes sense.
I don't practice a lot at home, so in the shower, it's the only time I get.
Hello.
Hello. What's one of the roles that you wish you would have gotten?
I wanted to be Lust in Full Metal Alchemist.
I could hear it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wasn't around when that show happened. I mean, Laura would have booked it anyway. But I wasn't around when that happened. So when Olivier and FMA Brotherhood came around, I was so excited. And I remember, I would say, when we knew that was coming around, I was like, man, I wish I'd been around auditioning when that first thing happened. And Mike was like, you're going to be okay.
The first audition I ever did that I didn't book, I was 9 or 10. It was Detective Conan. And yeah, I probably would have done quite poorly because the reason that Alphonse went so well was because I didn't have any mouth movements to match. He was a big suit of armor who doesn't move his mouth, so I had all the freedom in the world to not be that good at multitasking, which I wasn't and am not.
You're 9.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you that you did it, though.
But I was. Whenever I didn't get the part, I was like, oh, that's what this feels like. Because it was the first time I ever didn't get a part. So I guess that.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, last question. How are you?
All right. So for your remote studios, what level of soundproofing do you recommend need have?
So for me, what I did whenever I was making my own studio was I found the smallest room in my home, and I put a bunch of mattress foam around the top half of the entire room. So you don't actually want the whole room to be covered in soundproofing because then it'll sound like too boothy, basically. You want there to be some hard surfaces for sound to bounce off of. You'll have a better time looking this up. But the big thing is if you have a window in the room, you need to seal that sucker with like some crazy stuff, if at all possible. Yeah.
I converted a closet. I mean, whisper rooms are great if you can get, one of those prefab booths are great. But I have a closet, and then I put a bunch of foam in it. You do not. I'm glad you said mattress foam because we did get like the sparkly foam from Guitar Center. It's expensive, but we did that, and it's not that big. So, but there were some shelves that blanketed. But he's right there. You need some hard surfaces in there. So the door is not padded, and that seems to be okay. Everyone's all right with it. Everything else has some foam with some space, but then the door, and then dogs. Just don't have a dog. I'm kidding.
Put
puppy outside.
Thank you. And thank you, Columbus, for hanging out with us this morning.
Yes.
Please give it up for Aaron Dismuke and Stephanie Young.